Morning, everybody. People had some questions about the mapping assignment, so I thought I would give you a walkthrough. So I've added my voice to the actual assignment itself. Now that I have your attention, we can move on to what we're here for. The assignment really is building on everything that we've done in the class. So we've done a SWOT analysis in the first class. We did a school as a hub. We've done a community hub. And what we've done along the way is discuss both the big and small issues. So that's what you're doing at the beginning, is picking an issue or set of issues in child and youth development that presents as problematic. But we're going to look at it from a community problem and community solution point of view. And you need to describe that in words and then graphically represent it, as we've done 3 of the past 6 weeks. So the first thing you need to do with your group is to describe in detail the issue you've identified for children and youth growing up in their community. So that could be any of gang involvement, youth engagement, substance abuse, different sexual identities that are challenged, sort of racial identities, those sorts of things. So you pick your issue, then you need to discuss the issue. What's the nature of it? What's the extent of it? Where does it occur? And how frequent is it? Then I want you to talk about the issue from an individual point of view, which is using one of the frameworks, which could be any of risk and resiliency, the 5 competencies, the circle of courage, brain development. So pick one of those and discuss it from that point of view. And then I want you to talk about the negative impacts for children and youth, both short-term and long-term. Next, you're going to then take a wider lens and do a community assessment. So give an overview of the community, and this begins with basic facts. Where's the community, neighborhood you're talking about? Brief history. SES refers to socioeconomic standing. So we're looking at family income. We're looking at the rate of poverty and the degree of poverty. Family demographics talks about the different ways in which families present themselves in terms of, are they single-led families? Are they two-parent families? Are they same-sex families? Are they teen moms, teen fathers, any of those information? Then what's the breakdown of the ages in that particular community? What's the breakdown of racial and cultural diversity? And all of these are on the City of Toronto neighborhood profile, so you can go there and it'll give you that information. Then moving over to looking at what is in the community. And you're looking at the different services that are offered, opportunities, places to go, and caring adults. And that's in relation to children, youth, and your issue. So you want to talk about the strengths of each one of those, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats. So strengths and opportunities are the things that work for you. Weaknesses and threats are the things that work against the community and individuals. Each one of those should have a paragraph, and also when you get to answering the one quadrant here, which is opportunities and opportunities, if you can answer that, since it's redundant, you'll get bonus marks. Then do a summary. So you have all this assessment information, so link it to the particular issue you're talking about. So how does that have an impact positively or negatively in relation to the needs of children and youth? And how can it be part of the solution? So that would be a couple of paragraphs. Then I want you to use an even larger lens. And what I want you to do is stand back and pick one of racism, poverty, ageism, ableism, sexism, human rights, the determinants of health, any one of those, and discuss how the presence of that particular dynamic impacts on the core issue. So if you're talking about youth violence and you picked racism, how does that show itself? Or if you're talking about school failure, how does that show itself? Or how does poverty impact? So you need to have 3 paragraphs and 5 points highlighted in your discussion. Now we're moving on to recommendations. So what you need to do is give a detailed description overall by answering the next 4 points. So first of all, you need to outline a range of services and programs that address 3 levels of prevention. And they're kind of commonsensical, but I've added more description to it. So primary prevention is before problems have begun to emerge, and it's for everyone in the population. So primary is before. Secondary, so second level, is what's called early intervention. Problems are potential for individuals in specific groups. So you might be talking about some issue in relation to young girls, young female teenagers. So that group might be a place where you have some early intervention strategies if you're talking about them being at risk for the sex trade. Intervention is that's when the problems have been defined. So someone is already involved, we'll say, in the sex trade. What would be your treatment and crisis interventions that you would suggest? Next then is taking what you've identified in the community, which is unexplored capacity, ability, assets. So that could be spaces in the community. It could be groups of individuals that have talents that aren't being used or that could be used in different ways. You might have youth that are putting graffiti all over. So there's a talent, but it's being used in the wrong way. So how could that be drawn in? Next, you need to describe the roles of CYWs. It's worth 3 marks. So I want you to be very descriptive. What exactly would CYWs do? The more descriptive you are, the more sophisticated you are, the better. And then lastly, discuss how all these will be integrated into the community and made accessible to all children and youth. So where are you going to locate all these programs, because accessibility and location become critical. Then you need to provide a visual display, as we've done 3 times in the class, of all of what you've talked about. So the issues, resources, and assets, recommended changes and initiatives, and roles and strategies to be employed. So somehow you need to pull it all together in a graphic representation. So the marks are given for clarity, comprehensiveness, connectedness, and linking of elements from the simple to the complex, creativity, and visual appeal. So you need to have not only a visual component, but it also has to be comprehensive. So it's both images and words. As typically part of a written assignment, there are marks that will be deducted for writing style issues, and I typically code them in terms of word choice, sentence structure, spelling, grammar, paragraphing, and clarity. So make sure you use spell and grammar check, and maybe have someone else read it before you submit a final copy. Lastly, what you need is a peer evaluation that's signed, and it will be done according to individuals' level of availability, communication, doing their share of the work, producing good quality work, and working as a team. And there's the code down here. So if you give them 1 out of 5, that means they get 20% of the mark. 2 means they get 40% of the final mark. So say the mark was 80%. So 20% of that would mean that they would get 16. So they get 100%, they get 80%. So that's how that would work. And just remember, there are always Kelly Bucks available.